Welcome back. I hope you would have completed the exercise that I gave you in the previous lesson and you would have charted out your own path as to how to build self-confidence, self-belief inside you. That's extremely great because if you have not done that, please go back, do that first and then watch this video because that's very critical. You need to have a blueprint for yourself and then only you can move ahead. Now, having done that, now let's also try to understand that what are some of the competencies which are very critical to build in these times. What makes people successful in difficult times, right? Because we are talking about achieving self-confidence by building competencies inside. So we also need to know what are those competencies on which we need to focus. So let's start this discussion and let me share my screen with you first. Now, let's try to understand what is the process of improving your competence, right? Now, typically what happens is that in the beginning, you see quick results because you make some efforts and then it starts showing results. And that will happen with you also because in your blueprint, in your action plan that you have prepared, initially the first few things, and those are called low-hanging fruits, you will be able to get them very fast and move ahead and it will show some results. And then what happens is, as you start getting better at something, you will start seeing less of results. It becomes difficult to move further and it starts plateauing the way it has been shown in this graph. Now what happens is that most of the people give up at that time because they are used to seeing results immediately, right? So for example, if you are working on a competency which is your communication skills, right? First few things you learn, you start speaking well, you start interacting with people better, and then you feel very happy, you take up a few more lessons. But then you realize that it is not giving you as much results as you had received earlier. And then over a period you lose interest. The key here is to remain consistent, to keep pushing yourself even when you see that the results are plateauing. Because that's the most difficult part to break through, right? Because once you are close to mastery, then only you will see the graph going up further. So this phenomena has to be understood in this whole conversation around competencies. Because it's not just about taking those initial few steps. It's about being at it. It's about keep pushing yourself. It's about continue building that self-confidence inside, even when you're not seeing some very clear results every time. And once you are at it continuously, then ultimately you will see that suddenly the results are multiplying and you are really getting that boost in your confidence and you are able to achieve what you have desired to achieve. Let's look at some of the competencies which are very critical and which you need to focus on. And these are universal skills, right? Anybody and everybody should be working on them. Now, one is emotional intelligence, right? We have all heard about IQ. This is EQ, emotional quotient, right? It's your ability to understand the environment, understand the person with whom you are interacting, and being able to modify your responses based on the situation. That's emotional intelligence. And all of us need to develop that emotional intelligence inside us, especially during difficult times. Because in difficult times, the reactions become more sharp, right? And that affect your relationships. And that really doesn't help you in moving ahead because those relationships will break and you will not be able to achieve what you want to achieve. So that's where you need to be extremely conscious and balanced emotionally in difficult times. And that's why you need to work on your ability to develop this emotional intelligence, this emotional understanding of the situation, the other person, and then deal with him or her accordingly. That can give you tremendous success. And that's why, and there is enough and more available on internet also on emotional intelligence, how to develop it. But I would strongly recommend you to focus on this competency and try to develop it. The next one, as in the 5 steps also earlier we had discussed, was self-awareness. Because what also we need to understand is a lot of times we have false belief of ourselves. So while on the one hand, there are a lot of people who would put you down and then you start believing that I am not so good. On the other hand, what also happens that sometimes we have a bloated belief of ourselves. We believe that we are very good and then we keep demanding more and more. And later on to realize that ultimately the person sitting on the other side really doesn't care about some of the things that I am saying and is not giving me what I really want to achieve. So that's where knowing your real worth, real self is extremely critical. And that's where there are certain tools, techniques which are available in the market through which you can get on and do some psychometric testing for yourself, or speak to a lot of people who are your well-wishers and take some feedback from them so that you understand yourself very well. And you also need to understand your skills and abilities, the mental frame of mind, how much pressure you can take. All these things you need to know in order to chart out this blueprint for yourself. So you must focus on that. And finally, your ability to solve a problem-solving skills. And because a challenging situation would only throw problems at you. And you need to consistently keep solving these problems in order to become successful. Because if you don't have problem-solving skills, you will get overwhelmed. And ultimately you will give up because you will really see that there are so many things, so many challenges in front of me. And how do I move ahead? And finally you will end up giving up and you will not really achieve what you want to achieve. So that's why problem-solving skills is also very critical. So focus on building these 3 competencies. And please fill the action plan which is given below this video in terms of what are the actual steps that you are going to take to build these 3 competencies, and ultimately which will help you become more confident and which will help you face all the challenges that a difficult situation, a downturn will throw at you. So complete that exercise and then I will see you in the next module. Thank you.